It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.
Anthony, what's up, man?
I feel 5 stars this morning.
You should be feeling 5 stars because we are in the middle of having an incredible 5-star experience, aren't we?
We are in Beverly Hills. We're at the verified event for Forbes. We're at the Beverly Hilton. What could be better than that? Except it is cloudy outside.
Yeah, well, it is a little bit cloudy, and somebody could give me a Golden Globe. But other than that, I think it's really fabulous.
And
day.
why do you say Golden Globe, Glenn?
Because the Golden Globes are hosted here at the Beverly Hilton, and that's where all the stars at the beginning of award season get to come and get a little bit sloshy and have a good time.
And 2 days ago, the entire city was overrun by the Oscars.
That's right. We are recording this right after the Oscars are over, and boy, is the city in Oscar madness over here. But we're getting beyond that because we are here to celebrate 5-star hotels for 2019. And we've got a special guest today, don't we?
I love when we have guests, but we have the guest.
Yeah. And that is, of course, Mr. Filip Boyen, CEO of Forbes Travel Guide. Filip, it is so great to see you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
I think it's amazing that you're here and you invited us, which is great because over the next couple of weeks, as you guys listen to our podcast here, we're going to be speaking to some of the top hospitality minds that there are that really know how to deliver incredible and true luxury service.
Right. And this event that we're at right now, tell us a little bit about this event that's going on now at the Beverly Hilton.
Well, it's super exciting, of course, because we're doing here at the Beverly Hilton tonight, we have a huge party. A lot of work has gone into that. And this is the Forbes Travel Guide Luxury Summit for 2019. That means tonight we are celebrating extraordinary service because we at Forbes Travel Guide, we verify luxury. And what that means to me, to verify luxury, is to champion, support, and celebrate all those with a passion for extraordinary service. And this is what we're celebrating here tonight.
I can't wait. Last year, it was amazing. It was my first event, and I can't wait for this year.
Right. Yeah, I can't believe that you guys, even though you have 5-star standards, you lowered them enough to invite me along. So thank you for that. I'll be your 4.5-star guy. Well, all right. Maybe I'm getting a little too cocky. I'll be your 2-star guy. Yeah, I'll be your 2-star guy for your 5-star experience.
Just to tell our audience, we are both wearing very nice suits. We both have a white shirt on, okay, without a tie. And what is Glenn wearing?
I am not wearing my Brooklyn sweatshirt today. So I'm offended that you would even bring this up. The good people at radio should think that I'm in a tux right now because I will be properly dressed for this evening.
I'm not verifying your luxury right now.
Well, I am not feeling very luxurious right now.
Well, what is for sure is that it is very clear that Anthony and I come from luxury hospitality, right? And his background must be questionable, to say the very least.
Yes. We just met, Philip, but you've already got me figured out.
It's so funny this morning, right? There's 2 things I had to do. I had to get my shoe shined, and I had to get double-sided tape for my pocket square.
Right.
So I called my assistant. She sent over double-sided pocket square tape, and the great people of Beverly Hilton shined my shoes this morning. Because even though we're in the conference center with the door closed and only 3 of us in this room, we're at Forbes Travel Guide, verified luxury.
Yeah.
So we got to look like it.
But this is great advice because I forgot my pocket square
I have
in
one,
London.
And I have
my
double-sided
team,
tape.
my phenomenal team of Forbes Travel Guide went out to the shopping mall, bought me 2 of them.
Okay.
But I've never heard about the double-sided tape.
Yeah, here, hold on.
Well,
this is amazing.
You guys are all talking about that, but you failed to recognize that I'm wearing my good jeans today. So,
well, congratulations.
Yeah, I don't wear the ones I wear.
A piece of that double-sided tape for your pocket square.
This is a totally separate pair than I wear when flying. Yeah. So, I feel like I'm dressed really special tonight, but I am excited to be putting on a tuxedo tonight for the big event. I think it's going to be a really fabulous experience. But I'd like to start, Philip, with what is luxury today? Being that you're out there verifying, before we got on the mic, you mentioned that, it changes over time, and I've witnessed a change in my lifetime. When I was a kid, I remember it being a little bit more unapproachable and what I would have called then stuffy, but it seems to change as we go along. So how do you envision the changes in luxury, and what is it today?
Well, obviously, luxury it's hard to define luxury, because if you would ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different definitions of luxury.
Isn't that
and
what
it
is,
means?
though?
And what it means to me doesn't necessarily mean the same thing to you or
Right.
to Anthony.
So
right?
how do you verify it?
How we verify it is pretty simple, because when we talk about luxury in a hotel, we talk about exceptional service, right? We have an inspection report which is absolutely and incredibly difficult, right? We have 900 standards. 75% of those standards are based on service delivery and how do you make the guest feel in your hotel, right? To give you a very simple example, we have competitors, of course, that verify hotels and that check standards, and mostly they are checklists. Right? So, for example, you come into the breakfast room and the breakfast standards say, within 5 minutes of sitting at the table, your coffee is served or your tea is served, right? What we verify is, how was this coffee served? We are not so hung up if the coffee is served within 6 minutes or 7 minutes, but we want that coffee served with a waiter that looks you in the eye, that creates a relationship, that chats to you, that is authentic, that is natural, right? So with us, we don't check a robotic experience, so to speak, right? We check the relationship, we check anticipatory service. We want the waiters to anticipate what the guest needs, right? And this is why it's so hard to become a Forbes 4-star or 5-star hotel. It's incredibly hard. You have to score 90% of that inspection list to become 5-star, right? And to tell you why it is so difficult, we have currently in the whole world, we have 210 5-star hotels only.
210. And to just put that into perspective, here in the United States, there's over 50,000 hotels alone.
Absolutely. So 210 worldwide for the
Wow.
moment. Last year we had 199. We added 35 this year for the 2019 awards. But, of course, some hotels dropped off and lost their star.
And losing a star is traumatic.
Losing a star is traumatic, indeed. It's a little bit like the Michelin Guide, where you get 3 stars and then you're unable to maintain them. But what it does, Anthony, is it remotivates the team of those hotels to fight and get that.
Yeah, but I will
star back.
I will tell you this: it's people that are at that level. When they lose the star, it's 10 times more impactful than when they get the star from 4 to 5 star.
Right.
You know, because when you're dealing with high-level people, professionals, you know, I'll equate it to, because I'm a big mixed martial arts fan, to a, you know, not even a black belt, a red belt. You know,
Right.
There's only like 18 of them on planet Earth, or however many there are. And so getting that red belt is obviously incredibly satisfying, and it's a life's journey. And that's what 5 stars are.
Yeah.
It's a life's journey. And to get that taken away, that must be just a punch in the gut. So I know you don't do it
Listen,
easily.
but we are reasonable, right?
Of course.
So, for example, if there is a 5-star hotel and their official inspection takes place, a Forbes travel guide, and they have a score which is well below 90%, we are fair, because what we then do, before we put them on performance notification, which in principle is a warning, we take the average of the last 3 scores that they achieved over the last 3 years. And if that average is above 87, because that's the maintenance point of the 5-star, they will keep their 5-star. If it's below, they go on performance notification. Performance notification means they have another 2 years to get back to that 5-star level before we actually take the star away. So we are as fair as we can, because like all of us in hospitality, and you and I know that very well, everybody has a bad day. And you have to recognize that.
But some people lose their star because maybe they're not performing well. Maybe general managers change, ownership change. But some people purposely decide that a lot of your standards are incredibly difficult. Some of them are expensive, and they decide to remove themselves from some of those standards. And so how many would you say, if any, are voluntarily moving away from that?
Very few.
Very few.
Very few.
Because it's a
Yeah.
complete. Because I just spoke to someone. The reason I mentioned
Yeah.
it, I just spoke to someone that was having that conversation with me, and they're a little concerned because their ownership is changing, and they're afraid that they're going to be mandated from ownership to potentially, lower the standard and
And that is problematic because
But you've seen that happen.
We have seen that happen. In Forbes Travel Guide, it's very simple, right? You cannot buy a rating. Absolutely impossible. The only way to get a rating in Forbes Travel Guide is to earn it and to score your 90.
I know one
80%.
organization you can buy a rating from, but that's got me thinking that why would you lower your standards to lose that 5-star rating? Because the amount of money you would lose in rate and prestige and occupancy, I think, would far outweigh the cost.
There's various reasons. I mean, like Anthony said, a hotel can be bought by an owner. He might have different priorities.
Right.
His priority might be to flip the hotel within 2 to 3 years and wants to sell it. And he's not that hung up about exceptional service.
And it comes down to people like you and I who have been doing this for a long time.
Yep.
And in a very strong but fair way, let the ownership know that the mistake they're making.
And you know what is great about Forbes Travel Guide is that we have two parts of the company. One part is the official ratings, which is absolutely our DNA, right? Mm-hmm. We have professional inspectors. They go to the hotels completely incognito. We pay our way. That means we pay the rate, we pay food, we pay beverage, we pay our spa treatments, all at our expense, okay?
Right.
We don't announce ourselves after the inspection. So the hotels don't even know that we've been there, right? And then we announce them every February. We announce the new 5-star, 4-star. On the other side of the company, completely separate, we have support services. Let's say somebody scores 4 stars and they feel adamant that they should be a 5-star hotel, right? They come to us and they say, listen, can you come and explain why we didn't achieve the 5 stars, right? If you become a global partner with Forbes, we will come and explain the whole 900 standards to you. Where did you do well? Where did you fall short? Etc., etc. And then we offer support services. We have a fantastic, and I'm not saying that it is the best training team in the world. We have 22 full-time trainers, and those guys are simply the best. They are inspirational. They train people. Usually it's based on playing, role play between the guest and the employee. And what we do so special is that I've now attended 2 of those training sessions because I heard from all the hoteliers that I was visiting that this training that we do is so amazing. You know, we live in a world where the art of and the passion for hospitality and true service sometimes seems to get lost a little bit, right? And our trainers work on that specifically. So what they do, they build up the self-esteem of the staff, of the housekeepers, of the waiters, of the barman, and they make them proud again to serve. And that's what we're missing sometimes, right? If I go around the world, I've now visited nearly 100 hotels since October, since I started.
Since October?
Oh, wow. Yeah. 100. For example, I come back home now from this event on Friday. I repack, and the next day I'm off to Hong Kong. We do 7 countries in 3 weeks. And I think we're going to do 160 hotels.
Wow.
In
3
Asia.
weeks.
In 3 weeks.
Okay, I am never complaining about my travel schedule
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
He's lying. He is going to complain about it. But I'm curious. How do you then go to a non-5-star hotel ever again? Or
No.
do you?
I mean, we have 3 categories of hotels. We have recommended, we have 4-star, we have 5-star. And to me, it absolutely makes no difference because, to be honest, I enjoy going to recommended. I enjoy going to 4-star. And because these people are passionate. Right. They want to get better. And I enjoy talking to them. The 5 stars are there.
Right.
And like you said before, it's hard to maintain those 5 stars. But they are there. But I would rather talk to the people that are fighting.
Right.
And you can feel the passion. And
That's
when
pretty
I
cool.
go there, they want to make a picture with the whole team. And I go into the kitchen and say hello to the chefs because that's where I came from.
Right.
I was a commie chef, right?
Oh, really?
Well, I want to talk about that in a second. But before we get into that, because I have a couple questions about your career that are fascinating to me. But before we do that, I want to talk about 2 things. One, I want to make a statement that what you said is about the people. It's about anticipatory service. And so people ask me all the time, it's Anthony, you're such an intense guy. You love 4 or 5-star hotels. Can you go to a regular hotel? Absolutely. Because I don't get bent on all of the amenities. I'm bent on the service. And if somebody anticipates something for me, I will remember that for years. So I completely understand that. But one of the things I really want to talk about is the firewall that exists between the rating and the training, because that's one thing that any rating system that has training that has to kind of is a challenge. And I know, being involved with Forbes now for over a year, that firewall is you cannot penetrate it. Talk about that.
Sometimes there is a perception out there, and I hear that from GMs, that we have
a pay-to-play
strategy, and I can't tell you it is absolutely not true, right? I'm there since October. I work with the team every day. Why is this not true? Ratings is completely separate from everybody else. First, let's say we go to a new destination. Like this year, we will go to Mauritius, for example, for the first time. Our ratings team selects the hotels that we are going to inspect, okay? How do we select those hotels? We see what are the virtuoso. We go to the internet, we see what are, first of all, the top hotels. But then we also check, are they fine hotels and resorts with American Express? Are they virtuoso selected hotels? Are they, for example, leading hotels of the world, right? We choose the 20 top hotels. We advise them 6 months before, more or less, that we are coming. We don't tell them exactly when we come, but we are saying you have been selected to be monitored.
And this gives them an opportunity
rated.
to make sure that all their systems are in place so they
But
can
we
excel.
don't give them anything.
Right.
Don't think that we give them the
No, but
standards.
if I knew-
we just tell them we are coming.
Right. If I knew somebody
Yeah.
was coming to take a look
Yeah.
at some point in the future, I'd be sure to make sure that
Absolutely.
we were
Okay.
aligned.
So this is what happens when they find out that Forbes is coming.
Yeah.
The general manager, the first thing he does is jump up and go, "Oh my God!" and announces to his team, and then he closes the door and cries in his room
But
for,
then,
about, for like 2 hours.
But then we give them an opportunity, because once we have decided, and once the rating team comes to me and says, "Filip, I have decided that those 20 hotels are the hotels in Mauritius that we are going to check," I need to sign off. So I might change one or two. We sign off. At that time, that list is shared with the operational team and our partner services team, in principle our sales team. Our sales team that can then contact those hotels. We all know now that they're going to be inspected, and they say to the hotels, "Do you want to become a global partner of Forbes?" Only hotels that have been selected can become
What
a
does
global
that mean,
partner.
global partner?
A global partner means that you now have access to the standards, right? And where we say every year you're going to be rated as part of your fee to be a global partner. Every year you're going to be rated, but not only that, every year we're going to come to you and explain the full results of our inspection list.
And
right?
you give them? Are they open to getting training before the inspector even comes?
No. So we leave it there. Some of them will say, maybe we want a day of training, but obviously we give them the standards. And they study the standards. Now they know what they're going to be checked against.
So,
right? But very important, there is no services being sold before they have been selected by our ratings team and before I've checked them out.
But a particular GM might be smart enough to realize that they can make improvements in XYZ categories and then might rely on you to come in and train them up to the standards for those categories.
Absolutely, but that is totally up to them. And what is important, this year we have 35 new 5-star hotels. Out of those 35 new 5-star hotels, there are 7 hotels that have never spent a penny with Forbes Travel.
That was going to be my next question.
They have made it on their own behalf. And nothing makes me happier. Why is that? Because if anybody asks me, pay to play, I go and say, guys, if you are good enough to make the 5-star Forbes, you are good enough.
Right.
You have to earn your rating. It doesn't matter if you take training from us, global partnerships, if you do additional QA. That's also something we do, quality assessments. There is a lot of hotels that want more than one checkpoint in the year. And they say, in addition to the official rating of Forbes, we want another 2 or 3 quality assessments. So we know every quarter that we're running the course, that we're staying online with the standards, etc. So we do that too.
You know, I always tell people, and they say, well, what's a 5-star hotel like? I was like, well, think of a person that went to Juilliard or all the best schools in the world for singing, for voice, and they just haven't made it. And then there's this 14-year-old girl that just goes on stage and just blows the windows out, right? Because she was just born to do it,
Yep.
right? To me, a 5-star hotel was born to do it.
Yeah.
And from the architecture, from the design to the ownership, it's like when somebody buys a football team or a baseball team and they failed for 20 years and all of a sudden they just put in the great leadership and everyone knows, oh, I don't know when we're getting 5 stars. I don't know when Ford's showing up, but they're showing up and they're going to give it to us because we're going to get it.
Oh, yes.
It's like, and I don't need their services, or maybe I do need their services. And that's what I think really great teams are about. But before I start asking you about your career, because I have a really important question to ask you about your career, but really what you do, we talk about for our own pride, the 5-star, the 4-star, the verified, and we all want to walk around like 5-star generals because that. Once you get that 5-star, you're a 5-star general in this industry, and your resume is basically stamped as yours has been. So it's great pride, but really, what this is about, it's about the guest. This is about, at the end of the day, it's about the guest. Yep. So there obviously there's a firewall between training and the rating and all that, but at the end of the day, it's about putting a smile on a kid's face.
Totally. Now, this year, a major thing has happened. For the first time in 61 years, there is a hotel company that has achieved 5 stars in every single one of their properties. Amazing. Right?
Are you going to announce it? It's been announced.
It's already been announced.
So it's announce it now on our podcast.
Peninsula Hotels, right?
So every one of their hotels,
every one of their 10 hotels, so it's a perfect 10, as we say, has achieved 5 stars. And that is truly amazing. And what is even more amazing is the way that Peninsula Hotels has celebrated it. And when I'm going to tell you that, you will realize now we get why they are 5-star in every hotel. So what did Peninsula do? As soon as I called Peter Borer, who is the CEO of Peninsula in Hong Kong, he's going to be here tonight, and I suggest you have a little word with him. He's a lovely, lovely Swiss, down-to-earth gentleman, but obviously highly skilled at what he does. And what did they do to celebrate that? They had a 5-day, 5-star, 5-day special in all their hotels for their staff, where they offered their staff complimentary spa treatments, complimentary stays at the Peninsula hotels.
Wow.
Complimentary meals, complimentary this. And I can tell you, I was last night at the Peninsula Beverly Hills with Peter Borer. We did a little press conference and talked to the management. We both did a little speech. And I can tell you, in that whole company of Peninsula, there is not one staff member that has any doubt that their role in achieving that 5-star was incredibly important. And that's what it's all about.
I got chills you telling me that story. And Peninsula Beverly Hills is the hotel I stay at all the time.
It's amazing.
NASA, I usually stay there, and the GM takes good care of me. And I am a little disappointed I wasn't there last night.
It's a shame because you missed a really great event, and I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of those 10 GMs, and the stuff that they're doing all around the world is spectacular.
And I had met some of them, but I hadn't met most of them. The way they are, and you feel the passion for service, and you feel their humility, and the way they speak to you. It's all about the staff. I met Peter Borer last night, and we had a drink, and, he doesn't drink. I had to drink, sorry.
It's funny, I had dinner with somebody that doesn't drink either last night. I was like, hey, dude, you don't drink? I felt bad.
And the first thing I said, Peter, congratulations. This is an amazing achievement. The first thing he says, Filip, it's got very little to do with me. It's my teams in all the hotels.
Wow.
All the way up, from the maids, from the dishwashers, all the way up. Those are the people that make it happen on a daily basis. Because luxury is all about the little things, right? Another thing about this hotel, we're staying at the Beverly Hilton here.
Right.
I am totally blown away by the service here. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
The people are so friendly, so nice, so kind. And I won't forget that. My wife arrived yesterday from London. She ordered something from room service. I found that amazing. She wanted some grilled salmon.
Right.
She says, can I have a piece of grilled salmon? Okay, thank you very much. They repeated the order, all perfect, put the phone down. 5 minutes later, they called back from room service. Mrs. Boyen, yes, the chef is very upset. Why is the chef upset? Well, you haven't ordered any vegetables with the salmon. and we think that you need to order some vegetables. I mean, this is a little thing, but I just loved it.
It's like, why would you need vegetables? But you know what? You talk about the little things, and I've been to hundreds of hotels, and I'm trying to challenge myself not to stay at a hotel for at least 1 week, and it doesn't seem possible. And I remember I was at a hotel, and I won't name the hotel, but a 5-star hotel, and I remember having my glasses, and the glasses I'm wearing right now are very clear, so it's hard to see them. Mm-hmm. And I'm always misplacing them in the room because it's hard to put. When I put them down, you can't really see them. And with the logo of the hotel, they took my glasses, and they took the little cloth that you clean glasses with.
Sure.
They had the logo on it, and they put my glasses on top of it. So 1, I would be able to see it, and 2, I was just like,
Top class.
It was unbelievable.
Top class.
I was just like, unbelievable.
I mean, yesterday I was talking to Jeff, who is our head of training, who is quite a character. I'm sure you know him, and if you don't, you need to meet him because he is inspirational. And he set up our training department, right? He's been with us for 8 years, I think. And he was telling me a story because he goes around the world training those hotels. And he's training at a Four Seasons hotel, and I don't remember which hotel. By the way, Four Seasons has 36 5-star Forbes hotels in their portfolio, right? So, and Jeff says, and I was training the housekeepers in the room, housekeepers, not management, the maids, right? I was training them in the room, hands-on, how to do this, how to do that. And then one of them saw that I had a headache, so I had a bit of medicine. I opened the bag, put it in some water, drank it, and that was my last bag. The next day I come into my room, and on a wonderful face cloth, there is 4 sachets of the same medicine with a glass of water, with a stirrer.
Wow.
I mean, those things are what it's all about.
Yeah,
and they blow you away. They
really,
don't cost
how much
anything.
does that take?
Yeah?
I mean, how long does that take?
But
those are the things.
What is great is that somebody, a mate, because there was no management in the room, a mate takes that initiative and is empowered by the hotel to notice first of all, and then to go herself to the shop or to the pharmacy, buy this little thing and put it in the room. That I find amazing.
So
without having to go into the general manager and say,
Right.
please, can I do that? And this is what Four Seasons in particular is great at, right? Empowering their people, make those decisions, wow your guests, right? And that I find amazing.
So that's really what luxury then comes down to. It's
Totally.
It's not just the amenities and the services, but it's the people paying very close attention to those subtle, maybe unspoken needs of the guests and fulfilling them with them they didn't expect
Absolutely
It has
right.
almost nothing to me to do with amenities. Of course, you need the spa, you need the restaurant, you need the good rock glass, you need all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that means nothing if you
That's
have
like
robots
basic
doing
now.
it. You have nothing if you have robots. What you were saying, you see your eyes just light up when you're telling those stories, and you said the word empowerment. And I was just reading something, and it's not really the word empowerment is obviously a great word, and we've used it a lot. But it's really about hiring and being around powerful people. And not powerful people in status, but powerful people in the way they feel about what they do. I was just at a property in Disney World, and the supervisor of housekeeping and I spoke for an hour.
Wow.
We were in my suite. They put me in a beautiful suite. And in that hour, we laughed, we hugged, we cried. We just met each other.
Yeah. Did you get engaged in the end?
The reception's in the spring.
But
So I was that lovely chapel that overlooks the Magic Kingdom.
So I introduced. This would happen. So I get there. They make a big deal. They bring me up, and the managers are there, whatever. And I was like, "Wow, you guys are stars." Like, oh, let me show you our true star. So the young lady's name is Star. That's her name.
Wonderful.
And so we're sitting in a room, and they're all like sitting there looking at us or whatever, and they're like trying to like let her know, like, it's time to go. He's a busy man. And I was like, no. Don't let her go. We are. I knew about her children. I knew about that she
Fantastic.
lived. She basically lived in a little motel in Kissimmee with her children. She was on welfare, food stamps. The Disney property gave them a great opportunity. She worked her way up. She's now a supervisor. Her kids are doing great. And I'm telling you, we're laughing and crying, and it's funny because I could talk to her because anytime we think we're so important, right? We have the nice suits, the nice office, we have all the amenities.
Hey, don't look at me. I don't wear nice suits.
But what's interesting is she cuts through all the crap. And she tells me how it was, and I was fascinated by this woman.
Amazing.
It was fascinating. Matter of fact, when Glenn decides to retire, I'm going to make her my other podcast.
Unbelievable.
I guess I should take the hint.
Because staff in a hotel is everything. For
It's
example,
everything.
Forbes
everything.
Travel Guide, very strong in the US. We've been here for
Right.
61 years. Europe, not so strong. Hotels know us very well. They are very proud, but we need to build brand awareness in Europe. And obviously, we don't have $5 million to throw into a brand awareness campaign.
Sure.
Right? So the way I intend to do that, I've spoken to a lot of the GMs in Europe already, in our top hotels in London, Paris, etc. I said, why don't we do little functions in your hotel, right? On behalf of both of us, Forbes Travel Guide and the hotel. We celebrate the achievements, we celebrate the awards of the hotel, but especially we celebrate your staff, right? And you find me the 2 or 3 members of staff. First, they kind of been there a long time, but you find me the 2 or 3 best performing staff members, and we celebrate them. That means we bring in press, we bring in the travel trade, we bring in bloggers. Because in London, in Paris, everywhere, you have amazing staff in your hotel. And they have amazing stories, right? If you have somebody, even a maid that has been working in a hotel 30 years, can you imagine what she's seen?
It's crazy that you're saying this because me and Peter Crissetti, that works with you, we've had that conversation several times.
Yep.
And how we can, because I'm obviously in the TV business as well as the hotel business. And so I have, after this podcast, you and I have to talk. Because
I would love to talk to you about it. I feel very passionate about that because, if
so
you
important.
celebrate the staff, it speaks to the heart, right? It speaks to the heart.
When people say to me, it's like, tell me about your TV show. I say, I'll tell you about the housekeepers because it comes out of housekeepers. And in the bigger cities where you're getting higher rates and you have true professionalism and true professionals, housekeepers, by and large, are treated fairly. But then you go to these sea cities and you go to these motels where housekeepers are treated, I can't even use the words how they're treated. Yeah. So to me, I have a very special place in my heart for housekeepers.
And so do I, because I can tell you, I've worked in places like Bora Bora, I've worked in places like Moscow just after Perestroika, in the Comore Islands, etc. Difficult locations. Exciting locations, and we've gone through strikes and we've gone through everything. And I say to any general manager in the world that treats his housekeepers badly, go and do this for a week, and you will change your mind about housekeepers.
Do it one day.
Go and make beds for a week and do 10 or 11 or 12 rooms, and you will realize that housekeeper for me is the most difficult job in the hotel.
I say it every day.
I have the greatest respect for them.
I say it every day. And you jumped the question I was about to ask you, but I'll get to that in a second. But I just want to make a statement that every single hotel I run, I ask every employee to clean a room the first day they
Smart.
So when they're upset, like if the revenue manager or director of sales is upset. So remember that day, and the reason I say that is because I've never really been trained a day in my life, but I was at the Overland Suites, Overland Park, Kansas, I should say, Embassy Suites. I was in the military, and on the weekends I would work at the Embassy Suites. It was my first job. And after I got out of the military, I went in their training program for a couple of months, lived in Kansas City. And Tom, a gentleman named Tom, I'll never forget him, tall guy from Minnesota, nicest guy in the world, and he told me to go clean a room. And I cleaned a room. And do you know, I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating, I cried because they came and inspected the room.
Yeah.
And I failed the inspection. I cried. And
I'm not surprised.
I was in so much pain because I worked so hard, and I'm a clean freak to begin with, that I started to get very upset that like I couldn't live up to their standards. But really quick, I want to ask you a question.
I think before you ask that question, maybe we need to take a quick break because this conversation has been so fascinating to be a part of. We haven't done that yet. So
Glenn's here. I didn't know.
I know. First of all, I would say something really rude to you, but I don't want an explicit warning on this show. But yeah, it's really impossible to break in and have a conversation with you two guys. So it's killing me. So I need to stop this so I can get control. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Good luck. You're not going to get control.
Yeah, I know. All right. Hey everybody, Glenn here. So listen to this. Cobblestone Hotels is celebrating their 10th anniversary, and man, have they accomplished a lot in the last decade. Already, they have more than 150 hotels throughout the United States, but they're in smaller and medium-sized markets. Those markets that the big franchise companies, they're underserving, they're overlooking, and in some cases just ignoring. But Cobblestone is an expert in these markets. And their president and CEO, Brian Wagernes, listen, I've gotten to know him in the last 10 years, and he has worked every job possible, including being an owner and operator. I can personally vouch for how awesome this company is, how awesome he is as an individual, because he understands the importance of finding the right combination of hotel brand and franchise owner. He's also an incredibly dedicated professional. Whether it's a Cobblestone Hotel and Suites Main Street design, Borders Inn and Suites, or one of the newly acquired brands such as Boulders Inn and Suites, Key West Inns, Centerstone Inns and Suites, Cobblestone has brands that range from economy to upper mid-tier, and one that's right for you. Quite simply, Cobblestone Hotels is the franchise for franchise owners. Patrick Mullenix, well, he's Cobblestone's new president of franchise development. Give him a call or check out their website at cobblestonefranchising.com. But give Patrick a call. He's a great guy. I've known him for a really, really long time, too. You can find him at 920-216-0620. That's cobblestonefranchising.com. And tell him Glenn sent you. All right, so I've dedicated this next portion of the conversation to me trying to say something. So I'm very excited about. All right, so I'm going to be a big failure. That's a big deal. But you want to?
I have a question.
I know you have a question. So go for it.
First of all, I always say there are two hardest things in the world to do. One, be a ballerina, and be a chef. Those two things have a lot of the same qualities, right? But before we get into your background as a chef and working in great kitchens, I want to talk about what an amazing opportunity we have as hoteliers to be able to work in the field we work in. Because in a lot of places that you work, it's like whether if you're say in finance, you want to work in New York. If say you're in, I don't know, you want to be in the movies, you're going to be in Hollywood. But in the hotel business, you can literally go from running a first-class hotel in Moscow and then be in a first-class hotel in Bora Bora within 24 hours. And I think that's actually happened in your career. So tell me about that incredible, like just incredible feeling, just emotionally going from a first-class hotel in Moscow, and the next day you're at the Hudson Bora Bora.
And I remember
the culture shock must have been incredible.
No, fantastic, but. Listen, don't take anything away from Moscow because I
know.
I know.
It's different.
But I loved my experience there. So I went there in 92, just after Perestroika. So Gorbachev was still the president. And then after we had Yeltsin as a president. Obviously, the mafia was fighting for power. So this was a rough time, right? Bombs going off on a daily basis. They were simply fighting each other, the clans, for territory. And I remember my wife saying when I signed the contract to go there, and this was with Marco Polo Hotels in those days, she says, "Do you promise me if I don't like it in Moscow that we can come back immediately?" I said, "Of course, darling, no problem." Right? And after 2 weeks,
you mean that?
And after 2 weeks in Moscow, she says, "Philip, I hate it, absolutely hate it," because, and I could understand, not that she's a difficult lady. But, I was taken care of. I had a driver. I had a car.
Right.
She had to take the metro. In those days, there was not a word in English in the metros in Moscow, in the transportation system. And for her, it was tough, right? And so we stayed 5 years, right?
Did she ever learn to love it?
Oh, yes. She studied Russian then. She spoke fluent Russian after 3 years. It was amazing.
Well, that's pretty amazing.
And the stories there are amazing, right? So in those days, we used to pay protection money to the mafia. We paid 4% of revenue. And when I tell that story, people ask me, so how did you do that? How did that happen at the end of the month? In a big envelope or in a box under the table? I said, guys, forget it. In those days, we transferred the money at the end of each month to a very reputable bank in New York.
Right.
Okay? That's how that went. And then they said the next question is, how did you account for that on your P&L statement? I said, insurance, of course.
Well, in Brooklyn, when I grew up, right? In Brooklyn, when I grew up, and there's a lot of mafia around where I grew up, and people would come into a bar and say, "Hey, I just want to let you know, we're here for your protection, and anything you need, we're going to be here for you.
Sure.
But there's a service for our protection. It's $4,000 a month. It's like, I don't need protection. It's like, who do I need protection from? Me." And that's how it
amazing.
went. That's how it went.
Well, the only Russian mafia story that I have, I was at a 5-star hotel in London,
right?
And it had a butler and all that, and I wound up hitting it off with the guys and talking to them. And the Russian mafia took a whole floor, the floor above me, and all of the folks that worked in the hotel, all they wanted to do was go to the room to deliver stuff. So because they were given £100 tips, every time you knocked on the door. So I've got a very positive Russian mafia story.
You know, and it's interesting to put it in context, right? Because if you would tell that story now, it would be, just ridiculous. And it's like, oh my God, you did that, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that. And if you did it in the United States, of course, that's a problem. But back in the day, when nobody knows who's running the country, that's just part of doing business and survival. And actually, it's actually good for the country because you need a good first-class hotel to bring people all over the world to stay in a first-class hotel, and it represents Russia, that service and that Russian experience. So, unfortunately, you had to do what you had to do.
But we had a great time there, and we created a package for our clients, which was called the Cold War package.
Right.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
and we sold it for thousands and thousands of dollars. What was in the package? Very interesting. One day at a Russian army camp where they could drive a tank, shoot a tank, Kalashnikov, Makarov, all the weapons, bazookas,
this is
etc.
awesome.
One day training at the space center just outside Moscow, an hour outside Moscow, so they could go to the space station and have a day training with the astronauts. The third day was the most incredible. That was a ride in a MiG. In a fighter jet MiG, right?
Really?
Yes. And it sold like hotcakes.
Yeah.
And especially to the American market because they wanted to come and have a look. What was this Cold War all about? They probably didn't realize that if there ever was going to be a war and the Russians pushed the button, that it wouldn't work, right?
Yeah, right.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I took a Russian class in college. I was at Whiteman Air Force Base, which is a missile base. And Park University came to our base, and they had buildings, Park University College, on our base. So I was able to take college courses there, and I took Russian history. And I'm going to tell you, to this day, it's the greatest, most fascinating course I've ever taken. But I'll tell you a Russian general story. I was the protocol officer for the colonel, now retired general now, but Colonel Kenning, and we were having the 4 or 5-star Russian general in charge of nuclear weapons for Russia, first time ever coming to United States missile base. There's a picture of me to this day at Whiteman Air Force Base with the general. So we have our 4-star general, General Chain. We have our colonel, my commander, which was Colonel Kenning, and then we have the 4-star general of the nuclear weapons in Russia. They come to our base. Now, I'm the protocol officer, so I'm just there making sure everybody gets their coffee and their cars and everything's perfect, kind of like what you do in a 5-star hotel, right? And we go down to this silo. Have you ever been down to a missile silo?
No.
Okay, first of all, when you open up the door of a missile silo, it's literally half the width of this room. Wow. And it takes a long time, but the precision's amazing. So we open up the door, and now, remember, it's the first time a Russian general has been at one of our nuclear weapon bases. So they go into the command center of this nuclear weapon. And I'm sitting there or standing there, and I'm just making sure everything's perfect. I'm petrified, and they're talking and going back and forth. And we have to hand over gifts to each other. They handed us gifts, we handed them gifts, and I was in charge of all that stuff. So we have this historic event when you go to Whiteman Air Force Base, which is now the stealth base. It's no longer a missile base because it was decommissioned during after the Cold War. And there's a whole big museum about this visit. And I just went there a couple of years ago, and this gentleman, actually, may he rest in peace, he just passed away. The gentleman's bringing me through, and he's telling me about this historic event. And there's a picture of the 2 generals, one military, one from the United States, one from Russia, and this little guy with a box, which was the gift that Russia gave to America. And he's like, that was the most historic event that's ever happened in his base. I go, you notice who that little guy is holding the box? And the guy has no idea. I go, that's me. He goes, what? I go, look at that. That's me. It was the most amazing day. And then we find out later that the coordinates of that missile was his hometown.
Fantastic.
Was that general's hometown, just haphazardly. Once it was
crazy.
It was declassified. So fascinating.
Lovely. So in 97, my last year in Moscow, I was invited by Orient Express in London, head office, to come
Just
for an
now
interview.
known as
Belmont, and now LVMH.
Yes,
right?
They just bought it.
So it goes fast.
That happened this morning.
So I arrive in London, I have the interview, everything goes well, and I wanted to go back to Moscow the next day, of course, and then they said, no, you can't go back to Moscow. Now you have to fly to Japan, because the owners of the Bora Bora Hotel are Japanese, and we have a management contract, right? So I go to Japan, they explained it all properly. You land in Narita, you take the Narita Express, and I had to go to Yokohama to meet with the owners. I arrive in Tokyo, everything in Japanese. I don't find the train. I get on some chuk-chuk train that stops at every village, and that's going at 70 kilometers an hour instead of 300 like the Narita Express. And I know there's something wrong. So thank God I find an American gentleman on the train who explains, get off there, take the Narita Express. Long story short, I arrive 1.5 hours late for my interview, which in Japan is not a good idea. So it started off very badly. It got progressively better. We go for dinner, a little bit better, and then the guys take me for karaoke. Right?
Uh-oh. Hopefully he brought you second liver.
And within half an hour, two of them have emptied the bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label.
Oh, my goodness.
We're singing My Way, I can tell you. It would have made Frank Sinatra turn over in his grave 4 times, right?
And he was still alive?
But mission achieved. We were good friends. I'm off to Bora Bora. And I had a great time.
So tell me real quick before you do that. I want to know, how long before you left Moscow, your last day as the general manager, and your first day at Bora Bora, how long was that?
Oh, there was 3 days.
3 days.
Because we went straight.
Wow. So what is the feeling once you leave Moscow, you go to Bora Bora? What was the feeling? Do you remember a feeling the first day you were there? What was that like?
The feeling was like peace, right? Peace, quiet, a feeling of relaxation. Because one thing in Bora Bora is you arrive in Bora Bora, the moment you arrive at the airport and you look over the ocean,
right,
and you see 10 different shades of blue in the water.
Amazing.
And you see the palm trees and you see the beaches. I mean, you just fall in love. I mean, it's the most romantic place in the world.
Was there any Russian mob guy with a bag looking for money?
This is funny because I'm in Bora Bora 1 year and I get a call from my 2 mafia contacts because, of course, the mafia used to tell me in Moscow we paid them 4% protection money. Right. So I had 2 guys called Sasha and Jamal. They were my contacts. And then one day I said to Jamal says to me, but Philip, we are honest people. We work for our money. We really protect you.
He was an honest shakedown.
Whenever you have a hotel. So I became quite friendly, you know what I mean? Working relationship. So I'm in Bora Bora 1 year and Sasha calls me from Moscow and says, Philip, we're missing you here. We don't have fun anymore. How is Bora Bora going? I said, fine. French labor laws, quite challenging. People don't show up for work. They're quite difficult, etc. They're charming, but quite difficult. So Sasha says to me, Philip, do you want me to come and sort it out? I said, no. So then I was in Bora Bora, and Bora Bora was one of those island destinations. Like I said, charming people, but not very reliable, not very punctual, etc. So there, the normal thing, I got up in the morning, go to breakfast at 7 o'clock, go to the breakfast room and see who has shown up and who hasn't shown up, right? Because usually your 2 or 3 waiters don't show up. Mm-hmm. And then it was very simple. Jacket in the corner, let's start serving breakfast, right? And I had this American couple, honeymoon couple from L.A., and they say, but Philip, explain something to me. Why are you serving me coffee? You're the GM. You welcomed us last night when we came in. I said, well, let me explain. It's very simple. How much are you paying here? $1,200, $1,300 a night? They said, yeah. I said, listen, if I don't serve you coffee and I don't serve you breakfast, right? Within 20 minutes, we're going to see each other anyway at reception, and you're going to be screaming at me. Yeah. Don't you think it's easier that I serve you breakfast? They thought it was hilarious.
Now, how do you get a handle on such a difference in culture and motivating people to perform and get up to that 5-star level?
Well, it's the same thing. Respect the people, respect the culture. There's so many expats that have never understood that. They come to a country and they think that the people are going to adapt to them. That's not how it works. You have to adapt them to the culture and respect the people, treat them with dignity, treat them with respect. And in every place where you go, you will get results if you do that. Right. And you have to lead by example. These are not, if you go to the Caribbean or you go to an island destination, you have to work with the people. This is not an office job. You can't run a hotel.
And you can't just bring in some new people. Bora Bora probably doesn't have a giant
Bora Bora, the only thing you can bring in is French people, because it used to be French territory. So French people can even come there without a passport. They have their identity card, they come in. The problem is, because they used to be French territory, the Bora Bora people don't like the French.
Them.
Right?
So
and that's where the problem is. So,
one of the things I try to teach young managers is the person that you're talking to has seen you 6 times already, maybe 30 times. They've seen your position change over. So right now we're in Beverly Hills, we're on the podcast. I bet you there's people at Bora Bora that's still working there when you were there. And There's probably been several other people there since you. So you have to remember, it's their home.
Of course.
We're guests. We're guests just as much as that LA couple was a guest. We're a guest. And our job is to make their life better.
Totally.
So their job is to serve the guest. Our job is to serve them. And with too many general managers or owners or managers forget that, you know? And
absolutely.
And when we talk about empowering, you have to empower powerful people. And when you have powerful people, you have to give them. And I think our biggest challenge in the next 5 years is really knowing how to manage. And again, I don't want to say I don't want to say any generational categories, but we need to learn how to manage people. And we all use technology. We all want to be entrepreneurs. We're all different. And so we've got to hire powerful people and give them the room, but also give them the standards.
Yeah.
And so what's the biggest I know we only have like 10 minutes left, but I want to ask 2 questions. One, I want to ask a question about what is the biggest challenge today in taking a team that was maybe 4 stars, wants to make 5 stars. Is there a difference that you see in the leadership and the mid-level managers of a hotel that want to obtain 5 stars and maybe it's the same team or the same hotel or same type of environment 20 years ago? Do you see a difference?
Let me say this. If you have a 4-star hotel that wants to get to 5 stars, it is the culture that has to start at the very top, right? We see that very often. We go to a 4-star hotel. Our training team goes to the 4-star hotel. And by the attendance, you can already feel immediately how strong is their desire to get to 5-star. If you see the general manager in that training session, you know pretty well that these guys are serious about what they're saying, right?
100%.
If you see just the housekeepers and the barman there, not so serious, right? And it is inevitable that those guys where the culture starts right at the top and where they really are committed to it, that they will get to 5 stars very quickly.
So if the GM is out there serving that coffee, it's a lot more realistic that they'll achieve that 5-star status.
Well, that's Bora Bora.
But I mean just in general, going that extra mile, that sort of thing.
Going that extra mile and feeling what is necessary, respecting those people, I call them the little people, but without them you are nothing in a hotel. Because the touch points with every guest, those are happening with your waiters, your housekeepers, your front office staff, your doorman. Those are the important people, because luxury, what is luxury? It's a collection of little things, of touch points.
Yeah.
Like we just said, you had this incredible experience. I have a couple of those experiences. A couple of years ago, I was in New York, and I go to a hotel, meetings all day, so I give laundry in the morning. 5 o'clock, I've checked out of the hotel. I've forgotten my laundry, right? And I go to stay in the next hotel. I was still with small luxury hotels of the world. I go and stay in our next hotel. And I'm there, and it's on the other side of New York. And I'm like, Jesus, what am I going to do? My shirt, my laundry, etc. I walk into that hotel, and I open my cupboard, and in there is my laundry, right? Pressed,
Makes you want to cry almost, right?
I mean, Jesus. And I'm sitting there, I'm just blown away, right? I mean, isn't that incredible? So that hotel has gone through the exercise of finding out where I'm going to stay, send my laundry there by car. I mean, it's just amazing.
Anticipate. You know, one of the things I always find fascinating in hotels that Lost and Found sits in housekeeping. Lost and Found, it's very easy to know who that belongs to. Send it to their home. But before we end the podcast, I want to ask you a question. And you don't have to name the person, but who is, well, actually you do. Who's the greatest leader you've ever worked for, and what's the greatest lesson you ever learned?
Who I've worked for is difficult, but I would say Horst Schulze for me is one of my idols, right?
Sure.
And Horst Schulze will be here tonight, thank God.
Mm-hmm. Tell everyone who Horst Schulze is, so everybody knows.
Horst Schulze is the creator of Ritz-Carlton, right? And Horst Schulze's story, amazing. When he was 15 years old, he was a busboy at a German luxury hotel. He decided to invite his parents there. His parents came in. They wanted to have afternoon tea. The hotel looked at him as if these people were not good enough. They were not treated with respect. They were not good enough to be in that hotel. How do you dare coming here? And Horst Schulze swore at that moment, if I'm ever going to be in a position of power, I will treat every single guest with the same dignity and the same respect. He then created the slogan of Ritz-Carlton, which still exists today. We are ladies and gentlemen, creating ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. Horst Schulze, he doesn't want me to say how old he is, but he's getting there. Mm-hmm. And I'm having lunch with him 2 months ago in Atlanta, where he lives. And we're sitting in this big steakhouse, and we're talking passionately about service and hotels. And all of a sudden, I feel he's getting agitated. And I say, what's wrong? And I say, Horst, what's wrong? Why are you getting agitated? And he points to the other side of the room, which is 30 yards away. Says, Filip, do you see that painting? It's crooked, he says. It's not straight. He says, and it drives me mad.
Yeah.
So I'm getting off the table, grab a chair, go to the painting, put it straight, come back to Horst. He says, thank you, Filip. I feel better now.
But you know, it's those little things. I was having dinner at...
the passion. I mean, he still has the same passion for detail. I mean, it blows me away.
I was having dinner last night at a very famous restaurant here in L.A., and the menu was put in the folder upside down. And so when I turned around the folder to see this great picture on the back, it was upside down, and it drove me crazy. So the person I was having dinner with was like, calm down. I was like, no, it's just bothering me. Anyway, so I know everybody's looking at their watch, so we're going to go. So we're coming to the part of the podcast where we ask you a question. Good. And the question is, tell us something we don't know. As he's holding his head.
All right. How did I get into this business? This is not what you know. Yeah. So school was not made for me. Let's start there. When I was 18 years old, this will tell you the whole story. My maths teacher calls me to the front of the class and he says, Boyen, can you answer me that question on the blackboard? And I said, sir, I'm sorry, I haven't been paying attention. So he goes, Boyen, you don't know very much, do you? And I said, well, sorry again that I haven't been paying attention. But he says, take it from a positive side, because if you don't know very much, you can't forget very much.
I got to remember that. I'm going to write that down.
And that's why, then I became a commis chef. And it was a bit of an accident how I got into this industry. But I can tell you one thing. The moment I started, I knew that I had found my thing, right? There was absolutely no doubt. Within a week, I knew this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And we're still doing it, and it's so enjoyable. It's magnificent.
Well, it says a lot about your career and you as a person that, the position you're in is, the pinnacle of our industry. And it's what Forbes has done for our industry, and what the power I've felt in the last couple of years of your organization it's like, thank God.
But this is why it's the best job in the world, right? Yeah. Because this is the time to give back to the industry, to support the industry, to support extraordinary service, and that's what it's all about. So
what would you tell a kid right now wanting to go in the hotel business?
A couple of weeks ago, I did a graduation speech at the University of Glion, right? Mm-hmm. Hotel University in Switzerland. First, I started by saying this is probably the closest I will get to a university, because I've never been there, right? But my message to them was this: listen, you have a head start, right? You have a fantastic education you just went through. What is important for you now is to invest the next 2 years, to go into hotels, to work in those departments, to get to know what these little people are doing, what makes them tick, what motivates them, get to learn, learn the job of what they're doing. And that will be the most important time of your career. Because if you do that in the hotel business, work your way up from the bottom, you will get not only respect, you'll get the knowledge, and you know how a hotel operates. Today, the problem is with hotel universities. If you check 2 years after these people graduated, how many of them are still in our business, you cry.
Yeah.
Because it's tough, it's hard, they have to work bank holidays, etc.
Yeah.
And their education is so good. They can go into finance, they can go into marketing, they can go into any any direction.
I'm fortunate enough to talk to a lot of Cornell kids, and try to justify a Cornell kid working at the front desk after his mom and dad just spent $60,000 to send him to Cornell.
It's amazing.
Right.
It's amazing.
All right, gentlemen, we really do have to wrap up because Philip has to get going because he's got a very busy day. But before we wrap up, Philip, we like to do a little shameless plug. So give us a good one for Forbes. And tell us anything you want about the magazine, not the magazine, about
Forbes.
About Forbes Travel Guide. How can we find you? Anything that you want to do to promote the company.
Go to our website, ForbesTravelGuide.com. Fantastic website, great content, not only about hotels, but also about destinations, experiences, etc. And don't ever forget our strapline. Our strapline is "We verify luxury," and that means to me, we champion, we support, and we celebrate all those with a passion for extraordinary service.
Excellent.
You protect our industry, and I appreciate that.
We try, and we love doing it.
Anthony, how can we find you online?
Anthony Hotels, anywhere you want to be on the internet.
And I am Traveling Glenn, and I want to thank you all for being here. And this show is officially verified, so thanks for checking in.
Actually, what Glenn doesn't know is we're going to come back on mic a second after you leave because we have to say, tell me something you don't know, and I'm going to tell you something. So we're going to come back after these messages.
All right, goodbye. All right, Anthony, we didn't actually end the show. It's a little bonus part of it. Tell me something I don't know.
Okay, last year at this event, I wore a tuxedo. I was traveling all over the world. I forgot that I had a tuxedo.
Right.
That I needed a tuxedo. I couldn't find my tuxedo. So I went on Amazon and bought a tuxedo for $99. Tuxedo comes, it fits me perfectly. It feels great. I was like, oh my God, it's the best purchase I ever got.
Right.
I still have the tuxedo. So I brought the tuxedo with me. But then I forgot shoes. I said, shit, I forgot my tuxedo shoes. So overnight, tuxedo shoes. I didn't realize that the tuxedo shoes has lifts in them. They're built-in lifts. So I haven't worn a tuxedo in a year.
Right.
So tonight I will be 3 inches taller.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to see that one. That's going to be really
Tell me
terrific.
something we don't know.
Last time I stayed here at the Beverly Hilton had it been 10, 15 years ago. I was attending a hotel financial conference over at Century City, and I had just flown in, and all my friends were all in their suits, and I was in like a raggedy pair of jeans and sweatshirt and stuff like that. And
Shocking.
I looked so disheveled, and they were all in these suits that everybody kept walking by the lobby looking at me thinking I've got to be somebody famous because that's the only way all these suits are going to be talking to some super schlub.
Well, you are famous. You're Traveling Glenn.
At least that, yes, and that's what my mommy tells me all the time. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another great episode of Checking In, and thanks for listening.
It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's Checking In with Anthony